Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, mother. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Tuesday, thank you for joining us. Let's get going. That's some injuries, for the first almost week's worth of get-togethers up at Grand Park in Westfield. It had been relatively, if not close to entirely injury-free. And even some of the names synonymous with this team with injuries sidestepping the situation. But, yeah, today, not so much. We'll see about Jalen Jones. That's the one. When you bring the card out and take somebody off the field, that's the one. And then when you combine that with the description of non-contact. Non-contact is really, sports injury-wise, a horrific description anymore. Everybody thinks, or remember when it was, well, this is really tough and, you're just getting swallowed up by the tackler and getting hit real hard. You would almost rather somebody be described as being hit hard now than it being non-contact. Non-contact injury absolutely ends most of the time. Now, there are exceptions. I think Justin Fields last week left, did he not, on a cart for the Jets as their quarterback, and then hell was back the next day with a sore toe or something. So hopefully that's the case, but we have, I think, a great deal, do we not, of evidence in the past and experience certainly with dealing with injuries that are described as non-contact. So we will follow that story. You don't want to see anybody get injured at all, but you do really focus on that secondary because you can tell there's been an emphasis on that secondary, whether it's Lou Anarumo. If you missed our conversation yesterday, which, yeah, I know I did. I brought the bad luck to the Reds having Lance on, and I was skeptical about doing it, but I really wanted to talk with him, and they were into game number 1 against the Dodgers. I felt it was a really good time, and, yeah, obviously my decision-making was not good. Jinx the Reds. It doesn't take much to jinx the Reds. They normally do that to themselves. Very handy at doing that to themselves. But I certainly helped them out yesterday. That said, we were talking to Lance McAllister about Lou Anarumo and a concentration or a focus on the secondary, and you could tell that's what the Colts did in the offseason, really went out and did that focus, whether you're talking about safety or corner. Two of the more thought of positional players in the secondary brought in, high dollar amounts, free agency, goes against the grain. And you sit and you wait. And we probably would we not, been even harder on Juju Brents and his lack of availability had the quarterback not been the major focus in that category. And probably Juju gets a little bit, I don't want to say a pass, that's not fair because you end up talking about it anyway, but because he's a local dude, but you just kind of sit back and unfortunately you wait a little bit. Hopefully there's nothing with Juju Brents there with a hamstring, but he was one of those injury notes at the end of practice earlier today. Michael Pittman Jr. with a groin. The one thing outside of the secondary, and we will get back to Jalen Jones in that category in just a second, but one thing outside the secondary is that of the wide receivers. Can somebody throw the football in their general vicinity? because these dudes don't look bad, do they? They don't look bad. There's something, I guess I'm very careful in how I say things or proclaim things now, because past history wouldn't suggest that things work out in that capacity. You know, by now, most fans out there go, oh, all right, you're going to talk this up in the preseason, you're going to talk this up in training camp, and it's kind of described as propaganda. Yeah, I'm not going to deal with propaganda. I'm just going to say, as always, the ultimate test is what you see on the field on Sunday. This is all the work. This is all the craft that gets you the opportunity to show what you can do. And until that takes place, sure, because of past history, we're all going to be skeptical. There was a point in time in Colts history around here when it was completely flipped. It was a 180. It was a rite of passage. Here you go. This is going to be a 13-win team. Didn't worry about it. All you worried about was once they got into the postseason, are they going to have home field advantage throughout? When would they meet the Patriots? You weren't worried about any of the seasonal stuff. Yeah, whatever. Start of the season, September, October. Remember how comfortable you were when you had none of the worries that you have had in the past more than a handful of years and what you continue to have right now. Remember how good that felt? And some had the audacity to describe us as spoiled. There's nothing being spoiled about it. That's what you came to expect, because back then, that's what you were told. And then what you were told then was backed up. What you have been told in the past, again, handful of years up until now, has not been backed up. You've been told something, and you have seen a delivery of something completely different and very underwhelming. Truth be told. So getting back to the point of emphasis here, it is always just a wait and see until things matter, until they count. Or as I've described it, I sound like the Real World promo, until things get real. But the wide receiver category, if somebody can maybe direct the football in their general vicinity, and frankly, I don't care who it is, and I've said all along it's going to be Anthony Richardson. If not, then why do you even jack with it? But whomever is capable of putting it in a general vicinity of some of these guys, I think you give your team a chance, because some of these guys they're going to catch it are good. Jonathan Taylor running, it's good. Yeah, oftentimes we cover everything else up with the depression of a very disappointing team. And the problem is, if you have a quarterback that has been disappointing, then that is going to shadow the rest of the team. Very rarely are you able to wiggle out of issues that are created by your signal caller. Whether it's unavailability or lack of execution or inefficiency, whatever. So, yeah, we sit here and we wait, but the wide receiver position, I will say this. I try not to get overly excited about a lot of stuff, but Warren is interesting. This is not a guy that's been described as a rookie, as to be just one thing or the other. And still, the test is going to be when things matter. But the guy so far has given us, no reason to feel that he is nothing but absolutely legit. And it's always great when you have a dude that can do a lot of different things. How many years have the Colts had a tight end or that position, and nothing against it, but it's been, well, that guy's really good at this, but not so good. You're kind of mixing and matching. So you're going to be like the Pacers at center this year. You're going to mix and you're going to match. Remember when Napoleon Dynamite and the thrift store wanted to buy the 24-pack? But instead he had to get the 12-pack. You got to mix and you match. As Uncle Rico was laying down the financial law in the family. You got to mix and you match at tight end over the years, and this guy looks like he's going to be able to do some things that you watch and you have deeply rooted admiration for others around the NFL that they're capable of doing. Yeah, I know that, like Kelsey is like, oh, ho-hum. You're going to talk about this guy again. I know that his girlfriend or his relationship has kind of overwhelmed his play on the field, swamped it, if you will. You're not so much worried about on the field anymore. All you end up talking about what's going on, off the field, whether he's doing a podcast with his brother or he's at a Taylor Swift concert or whatever. But he's a guy that has been, for so many years, such a legitimate threat from that position. But, man, Warren has just done so much. And we're always looking for that dog. He definitely looks like a dog. Hopefully that's the case. Again, you got to prove it. But hopefully that's the case. I mentioned I'd double back to Jalen Jones. Apparently left as described. We'll talk to Joel A. Erickson of the Star coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour about that situation. Hamstring, pain, carted off. All these things are not good. Hopefully you just err on the side of caution, and that's that. But the whole non-contact thing and then carted off seemingly would and should worry absolutely everybody. So we'll see. And he's going to be a guy that's going to be counted on. In the running for the other side of Mooney. And obviously with Kenny Moore back there. But then you have Juju Brents, who goes out with a hamstring, and he, simply put, has been a guy that you cannot count on to remain healthy. You hope, because seemingly he has a skill set that's necessary. You hope. But he's not been able to be counted on so far. So that is an update right there. And we'll talk to Joel about the quarterbacks. Somebody had brought this up to me, and I guess I don't notice because I don't pay as much attention as everybody else does to what absolutely everybody is saying. And believe me, all these guys work their ass off of covering this team, and my ass sure as hell is not out there until Thursday. So I give credit where credit is due, always have and always will. I just haven't noticed, as some people have said, do you know that all you see are the good plays from Anthony Richardson? You don't really see too much from Daniel Jones, do you? I haven't really noticed. And one of the reasons why I haven't noticed is I have expected the entire time that Richardson was going to be the guy and was going to start week 1 unless he was just absolutely awful and or unavailable. As I've explained in the past, if you're beaten out by a guy that has been, let's just say it, with the New York Giants, he's been a disappointment. There's a reason why he was available. Now, I will say this, by whatever means necessary, you don't care. You don't care, but in a perfect world, which we're far from that and certainly haven't been that around here for years, but in a perfect world, you would much rather see the guy that they drafted number 4 overall finally come into his own. But at this point in time, I mean, hell, you don't care if I play quarterback and if I'm good at quarterback. You just want to go down there and be entertained and see some winning and not play just one weekend into January, for God's sake. I mentioned the rite of passage it used to be, and now you're stuck in that, what Buffalo was or what the Bengals were back in the day. You're stuck in that rut where you simply put can't get out of it. Into the show yesterday, somebody had called, and I can't remember exactly who it was. Was it Brandon? I don't think it was Monon John. He was talking about the guy at the Monon who broke his stick in front of our faces years ago. But it was somebody else that was talking about, it's a little underwhelming right now, a little apathetic. And this is something else that the Colts are going to have to do. They're going to have to prove. This is not one of these things where you just show up in week number 1 and, hey, everybody believes that you're going to be unbeaten and you're going to the Super Bowl. This is a team that has a lot to live up to. This is a team that's done basically the same damn thing for a number of years, and they've gone with the same group for a number of years, with the exception now of a defensive coordinator. So I guess as you could say, if you're from where I'm from in southern Indiana, ain't nobody buying that blank until you see it. And that makes a lot of sense. And we'll watch for some of the reports on Jalen Jones. But on Ryman, got that extension. We talked about that last week. There was the art of negotiation that was going, well done by the Austrian. He was on with Jake, and you can kind of tell there's a little bit of an angle being presented there. So what happens? Then something less than a week later got done. And I will say this, the left tackle, much like what we're talking about until proven otherwise with the team playing well, until proven otherwise, this guy has been legit. That is a really good thing. Now, we'll talk that. A lot of Colts for you. Joel A. Erickson of the Star, a further break. I'm actually watching him in the video. He was on the side where Braden Smith is talking in this video right now, and my man is absolutely sweating through the shirt right there. Do you if you go out there and you sit in the heat like that, do you strategically wear a shirt to where you don't have sweat and pit stains? Does anybody do that? Does it matter? Because I would not wear navy blue or gray out there. And I don't look in the mirror and go, and I know somebody called me douchey the other day, which, yeah, I do have kind of an issue with that. I'm trying to keep a competitive balance in my bod right now. I'm staying hillbilly, true to form, while also adding a bit of, how did I describe it, of douche toxicity. So I'm trying to have an even balance. I think I have evened it out a little bit, but sometimes I think the douchiness does take over. My bad. Not really worried about what I wear, and I'm sure as hell not worried about what anybody else wears. Wear what you want. But I think strategically speaking, if I'm going to go out there, it's either going to be something white, right? Or like Mike Chappell, I heard him mention yesterday, whenever it was, that he wore a black shirt. Well, you wear that, right, even when it's hot like this, so you don't sweat your ass off in front of absolutely everybody. I think that's pretty smart. Don't look like was it Sean Miller? Sean Miller was wearing a white shirt years ago. Remember when he had the white shirt on and the undershirt underneath it, and he was just like sweating? You could like see like he had man nips showing through and stuff as the head coach then of Arizona. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. I know that's what you guys all expected on this Tuesday afternoon is some dressing pointers in the heat from me. If it were me, I think we all just go shirtless and call it a day. But among the things we do in this world, evidently that's frowned upon, so we won't. On Thursday, where also I believe the forecast calls for it being much cooler, which is cool by me. I'll see you up there coming up on Thursday, too. That is a night gathering, and we will be up there. I have no idea. I will give a shout-out, and you probably heard the crossover with Jake and I a little bit earlier. Sometimes I tend to get a little bit salty with those that don't get back with us, and I know that that's okay. We're not their major focus, but, yeah, I mean, at some point, maybe you should. And I have to give a tip of the cap because I have done nothing but rail on the Colts for how many years now, and they never stop putting people on this show. Never stop. It is quite amazing. I mean, railed upon railed upon railed. There's a video. This goes back to, I think it was the Combine before last. You guys remember that video with Chris Ballard with me? And you can tell Chris Ballard would have rather have been anywhere than sitting talking to my dumb ass. You could tell. Arms were crossed. Hey, you got a root canal or an enema or anything you can do, but can you get this clown away from me with his Q&A bullcrap? It was awesome. But you know what? There he was. And there he was next year. There they were. With guys, I'll give credit where credit is due. Oftentimes, when you're hardcore on a team, especially for a number of years, and that's all they've heard, they can and would shut you down. But shout out to Matt Connie and company for doing that. That is just professional as hell. I never try to make it personal. It is always professional. It may be inaccurate, but nothing's ever personal. Just weird. Like the one that we beef on the most, give you the most. And the ones that, we don't have time today. I'm not really that angry about Felix either. Now, if he was on a plane, he was on a plane, whatever. But it's one of those things where I had Brent Halverson on a Thursday, and I go, man, you're going to be driving that Grateful Dead livery. And honestly, nobody cares. I mean, you're out in Laguna Seca, you're going to Portland. Let's give you a little bit of love right here. And then, well, the timing was off. Okay. Sorry about that. I would come in here at like 3. Like, I'll say this. James, you can put that out there. If somebody with a fever would ever call you back, I'd come here at 3 in the morning and tape them. I swear to God. I'll come right in here at 3 a.m. and tape them. If anybody ever calls you back. The one time we got Lexi on this show was because the trainer listened to the show, remember? And she was on the training table.
Well, I'll keep that in mind.
Thank you. Just say, hey, whatever, 24/7, 365. My man's open like 7-Eleven right here. 7-Eleven's back, right, as a part of Speedway. You just tell them I'm here. I'm here when they need me. Hey, we were also, this was at the end of the show yesterday, and I did want to work this in before the break. Man, Jason Hammer has a new camera, and I swear, is it making me look like extra white? I look like, they used to make fun of me all the time. The Baggery at the other station, they called me Powder. You ever see the movie Powder? Said I look like powder. Well, James, I got a little bronzing going on right here. Can you tell that there's bronzing?
Mm-hmm.
So I do a video before the start of the show with Hammer and Nigel, 93 WIBC, and I don't know, does Hammer put the damn powder filter on me or what? Looks like I've been vacationing in Antarctica.
It looks like it may just be a little bit blown out from the lights. It may just be a little bit too bright from that.
So you're saying that I need some special lighting?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, okay. That makes me feel a lot better.
We need to up the production value on these
special
pre-show
lighting.
meetings.
Special lighting for this guy, please. Yeah, I actually muffed the post for the first time in forever. But then I redeemed myself. I didn't hit the Billy Idol, but I came back and got the Billy Ocean. So that was good. That video is up right now if you guys want to check it out. Matter of fact, I think I've already retweeted that, or I'm sorry, re-X'd it at this point. I should probably know better. Oh, yeah, I did want to mention this, too. When I brought up yesterday at the end of the show, the Espresso Martini, because of Pickle on Pen, where Steve has that on his menu, the Pickle on Pen, that I said that is like a drink that may be the most popular cocktail right now with the ladies. Lindsay Monroe countered that and said absolutely.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Nice.
They had evidently, she and Josh at their wedding here about a month ago, they had that as an espresso martini bar. So I guess an espresso martini bar they had.
Oh, so she
right
had
here.
that at her wedding.
At the wedding.
So that's a brown drink.
I wonder who paid for that.
That's a brown drink and a white dress. You got to be careful with that.
You got to be careful. Yeah, brown drink, white dress. Shout out to Lindsay and Josh, by the way. I think they're about a month in being married. Good luck. I'm just joking now. Seriously. You don't need luck. You guys love one another. Everything will be great. But yeah, Tyrone's backing me up on that whole martini thing right there. We got to talk to Steve sometime so I can get into my hammy. No, not my hammy. My Achilles right here is a little sore. So I agreed to play hoop tonight. Right now, I would say I'm 50-50, but I'll probably get a second wind here a little bit later on. I don't know what's happening right there.
You still got the boot?
Got the boot. I wear the boot all the time.
Oh, there you go.
Seriously, I wear the boot. I'm just going to wear the boot all the time. Seriously. Why not? Because I think the boot helps. There'd have to be an orthopedic surgeon that could tell me. I think the boot actually helps me. True story. Now, quick one will come back. Joel A. Erickson of the Star coming up after 4. Greg's going to join us on the other side. That's Greg Rakestraw. Got a lot more for you on this show. And, yeah, I know, I did jinx the Reds yesterday. I'll try to make up for that coming up later on today. And I will get into, even as a non-Cubs fan, what Ryan Sandberg meant to me. All baseball fans, I'm assuming especially if you grew up in my era, would agree. R.I.P. to one of the GOATs. Quick break. The Stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
want to go over there. I'll move over, Swanson. I'm driving.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, welcome back. Joel A. Erickson. The Colts, basically a weekend now. Thursday for me up in Westfield. I'll look for you guys all up there, too. Who was it yesterday that called and said they're going to give me a beer? Well done. I think the dude said, hey, well, I don't drink. And I said, well, hey, I do. Now, I'll see you all up in Westfield coming up on Thursday. Actually, I think twice. I go this Thursday and then next Thursday or 2 weeks. I don't know, something like that. No, see, Todd sent me the schedule about 1,000 times. I believe I have it memorized by now. But yes, two Thursdays?
Yeah, 2 Thursdays, this Thursday, and then Thursday the 14th.
Yes. So I also need to tell my folks I'm going to do, this is great, right? So I'm doing some speaking engagement on the 14th. Some speaking engagement.
Oh,
yes.
They may have added another
have
day.
They?
Yeah, it looks
cool.
like you're there Monday the 11th.
Monday the 11th. Cool. I think I have a meeting with Win Schuler. You know, Win Schuler's cheese is coming back.
The cheese is coming back.
Yeah, the cheese is the spreadability is coming back.
That's been a minute.
Yeah, it's year before last.
Yeah.
And we turned them on their ear, too. They ran out of cheese everywhere. Like the world of spreadable cheese was absolutely thrown on its ear by being a part of this show.
Now, does that mean they're going to come back in with some free sampling of said product for
I'm
us?
assuming free sampling. I just got to figure out in what context I will eat it. What do I put it on?
That's true, yeah.
What do I put it on?
Can you
Vegetables?
Can you mix it with cottage cheese, or do you think it goes well on your tuna? I don't eat tuna, so.
Yeah. I'd have to put it on some sort of vegetable, probably.
Probably, yeah.
The spreadability's back coming up this fall. What you guys have all been waiting on right there on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, something else you were waiting on. Greg Rakestraw, who is not so fresh back from Iceland and had a planes and trains and automobiles type of experience trying to get his ass home, didn't you, buddy?
Well, I had to settle for doing 3.5 hours of radio from the Brickyard and not 6. So
yeah,
thanks for stepping in. For
that's
the
always
first,
good. That's always good.
Shift.
Sure. Hey, shout out to Todd Meyer, by the way. So Todd Meyer was in Michigan when he was orchestrating this because of the whole flight situation with you and was kind enough to bring me back a case of Labatt's Blue Light in bottles and a case of Labatt's Blue non-alcoholic in bottles.
Well, why would you get the non-alcoholic, John?
Yeah, it's for somebody else, not for me.
Okay.
No, it's all – I go alcoholic, go home. That's what they say.
So you did 2.5 hours of radio, and you got a case of Labatt's, and you got an Iceland football shirt out of this deal?
Yes, I did.
That's a big win for you.
That was a big win right there. Now, where are you with Labatt's Blue?
If somebody hands me a cold beer, I'll drink it, John. That's kind of where I'm at.
I loved Labatt's. I drank Labatt's Blue in college at Indiana State.
I think all of us went through a Canadian beer phase in college.
We did.
Yeah. For me, it was Molson Canadian was the beer of choice circa 1995.
Was it Molson Golden? Do they still make Molson Golden? That was popular back in the 90s, too.
It was just straight Molson Canadian. There was a AAA baseball team in Vancouver that was the Canadians, and basically it was the logo off of the beer bottle. And so that was, whatever Molson Ice, because we grew up in the ice beer age.
Yes, we did.
You'll make the beer cool, just put ice on the name, makes it really cool, right?
Right.
So I had some Molson Ice because I did have a Canada trip for like a week when I was in college in the summer of 95. But of the Molson family of beers, Molson Canadian was my favorite.
Do you think Ice-T or Ice Cube ever tried to sue? Because they were the major reasons why I always felt the ice beer craze took place in the 90s.
No, man, it was what made them popular. It was free advertising for them.
Oh, you think so? And those guys,
absolutely.
Like Ice Cube's always trying to make a buck out of that. I'd think he'd be the first one to go, well, wait a minute. All of a sudden, we got all this ice stuff going on. And he
tend to
started
think
it.
both those guys have fared pretty well in life. I think they made it out okay.
I will tell you this. I went through a small craze in the late 90s, early 2000s with J.W. Dundee's Honey Brown.
I'd forgotten about that.
Until I found out it was like 500 calories a bottle.
Well, apparently I've been drinking them for some time then, apparently.
J.W., did you ever have any J.W. Dundee's Honey Brown?
It was phenomenal beer. I know why. It was like drinking a cinnamon roll, apparently.
Man, I went through a lot of the ice beer phase, the Bats Blue phase, the Amstel Light phase. I had some of that last weekend, and it wasn't what I thought it was, Amstel Light. So, yeah, but also J.W. Honey Brown.
We would have the Pay the Rent kegger last Friday of every month. And one day we stumbled into getting a Killian's Irish Red keg. And like this pre-social media, word spread around campus, and the party got just a little bit too big. I was getting a little bit nervous.
Yes.
But rent was well paid that month.
Let me tell you, over in Terre Haute, at the then, and I'm obviously with somebody else now, but in 92, 93, it was a party cask over on 3rd Street. And we would go get a keg of Busch Light Draft. That was the go-to. But I would take, because they would send me back to the cooler and I would like carry it out. I would take one of the lids, the Heineken caps off the Heineken keg, and then put that with, and people would go up and like pump the keg and think that it was Heineken when in fact it was Busch Light Draft. I thought that was savvy as hell.
And they frankly wouldn't know the difference.
They wouldn't.
So the mini bar in the room on the cruise, had like 2 Cokes, 2 Diet Cokes, 4 things of Tito's, a couple of bottles of Evian, the Evian phenomenal, and a couple of Heinekens. And basically we had the package where you could drink anywhere on the boat, for free. And so it was a lot of Bacardis and Cokes because you're on vacation. It's what you do, even when it's 55 degrees.
Right.
I would have pina coladas looking at icebergs. It was a wonderful trip. I had the one Heineken in my room, and I got about half an hour. I'm like, this is absolute swill. So, yes, playing that off as a Busch Light is perfectly well done by you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, Gritty says Molson Golden was our beer of choice at the Office Lounge in the early 90s. That's the Office Lounge on East 3rd Street in Bloomington. That's a place where we need a tavern tour stop, the Office Lounge in Bloomington. For sure.
Weren't you pimping out? You had one tavern tour stop available. There you go. You're going to B-Town.
That would be we're going to in September. We're doing a Larceny Bourbon Locks and a Luna Azul tequila shots from the upstairs pub.
There you go.
That is nice.
Well done.
That is nice. Hey, I want to ask you regarding a lot is made about the quarterback situation. Somebody had said all we do is see the really good throws by Richardson, and that's just angling to give him the starting job. And while listen, it's okay if you describe this as a competition. The worst case scenario in this competition is if Richardson gets beaten out in it. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. But again, I legitimately think whoever the better quarterback is at the end of August will be the starter, because everybody knows you've got to win now, or if not, it's reset time. I will say this, having been there for the last 3 practices, I have seen more good than bad from Anthony Richardson. You're seeing some more touch on some throws. And it's not just the, 50-yard bomb. He's throwing the outs a lot better. There's still some bad plays in there. Like literally there's this little set they run on the goal line today that is supposed to be kind of a shovel pass to Tyler Warren. He threw it from 4 feet away, threw it a foot behind him. I'm like, I could make that throw. How are you missing that? But at the same time, I've been watching him the last couple of days. I saw more good plays than bad. And I saw throws that have given him fits be done better. Is it perfect? No. But did he kind of look more like the guy as a rookie that was a 60% passer, which is much closer to what you need to be in the National Football League to be successful, than, say, being a guy who was sub 50%, which gets people fired? He looked more like the first guy I mentioned. So there's still a lot of proof of the pudding in terms of what he looks like in preseason games, what he looks like in regular season games. But based on all we have to judge it on so far, through a week of training camp, there are places where I see improvement from Anthony Richardson.
It's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He was at Colts practice a little bit earlier today. This probably all comes out in the proverbial wash here on either side. But do you think that it is more this wide receiving core that would have the opportunity? Because I think that we downplay them a little bit, or they're downplayed nationally a little bit because they haven't had an accurate quarterback throwing to them. I think if somebody is in their general vicinity, I think they can make that somebody look good. Do you think that is a possibility, or is it more you have to be on target with these guys to make the quarterback, whomever this is going to be, look good?
I really don't have a question about the skill position players for the Colts. I honestly don't. Now, other than quarterback, obviously we have questions about that. But Jonathan Taylor, we know what he's about. Tyler Warren, we saw it at Penn State, and I think that skill set translates to the National Football League. There are questions about A.D. Mitchell. Again, he made some nice plays today too. But frankly, he's kind of fourth in the depth chart right now. And I like the three guys that are in front of him in terms of Pierce, in terms of Downs, in terms of Pittman. So I do think this wide receiver group is solid and capable. I like what the addition of Warren as a tight end. We know what Jonathan Taylor is about. There's always question marks in every team if somebody were to get hurt. But whomever the quarterback is going to be, I think that quarterback has the skill position weapons to be successful.
Greg Rakestraw is with us. We both grew up Reds fans. However, I'm assuming if you're like me, and you had a great deal of admiration because in the cable era, even though I didn't have it, I got to see it more often than not at different places, that you saw the afternoon Cubs games, and he was an incredibly special player. And yesterday we learned he passed away. What Ryan Sandberg as a player mean to you as a budding baseball fan of the day?
Well, obviously you saw him in every All-Star game for the better part of a decade. And yes, there was the rub that all of baseball got, but especially the Cubs and the Atlanta Braves, because you knew they were going to be on every day. And I think you and I lived a similar existence. My guess is you didn't get cable until you went to college for the first time. Is that correct?
1988, we got a satellite dish, one of those big moonraker things that got everything. That's the first time I had cable.
For some reason, my mom and dad got satellite when I moved away, too.
Yes.
So I remember being able to watch the U.S. Open on USA in the fall of '94, and I moved to the University of Indianapolis thinking cable is great. I may never leave the room again. So did I watch Rhino play on WGN when I was at a buddy's house or staying with somebody? But was there more love for him nationally because of the timing of when he played for the Cubs? Yes. But was he a no doubt about it Hall of Famer? Absolutely. And for the most part, other than 84 and 89, he was a great player on bad teams, for the better part of a decade. So anyone of our age knows how wonderful of a baseball player Ryan Sandberg was. And frankly, virtually every story you have heard over the last 24 hours since his passing became public was that in virtually every meeting in a public setting, he was an absolutely first-class person, too.
Speaking of baseball, I'm trying really hard not to jinx the Reds, but I may have done it with Lance McAllister yesterday. Every time I get excited about this group, they end up crapping the bed. Every time.
There is something to be said about playing the Dodgers. The Dodgers are pretty good. So maybe that was more about what the Dodgers did right than what the Reds did.
Yeah, but the Reds are still, organizationally speaking, habitual bed crappers.
They also have a couple of pretty good teams in front of them, too. So they're at least in the mix, which they weren't at the start of the season.
Greg Rakestraw is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hopefully I see you out there on Thursday. How about that?
You will not, because I'm booked elsewhere on Thursday. I've got the City League Finals on Thursday. So my next appearance at Colts Camp will be on Sunday, but I'm sure our paths will cross.
The City League Finals, is that basketball?
That is basketball.
Is that old man basketball?
It's 20 to 30-year-old basketball.
Why am I not playing in this league?
A lot of the guys that have played in that final over the years were actually playing in the TBT event in Wichita this weekend, the Fail Harder team. So we have kind of some different teams. So Aaron Henry, Robert Glenn, Tayshaun Johnson, Travion Blewett are all playing in the men's championship game, which is at 8:20. The women's championship game has three of the Goss sisters on one team. The other team is led by Allie Becky, who just graduated at Ball State from Brownsburg as part of their state runner-up team 4 years ago. and they are playing for a cash prize. Honor Fitness Center at Tech, and we'll have that for a 6th consecutive year on ISC. Women's game at 7 o'clock, men's game at 8:20.
Well done right there. Jesse Bingham was playing in that TBT, right, on Fail Harder too?
Correct.
Yeah.
He was on the Fail Hard. So Darius Adams, obviously UND legend, has been over in China.
He put up
for
42 in that game the other night.
Which is kind of what Darius has done as a pro for the better part of the last 10, 15 years. But Kobe Webster from Park Tudor was a big part of that. And those guys made it as difficult as possible and came damn close to making it to the semifinals.
Greg Rakestraws of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. My brother, we'll see you very soon. Thanks for the shirt.
And thanks for the fill-in on Saturday. Greatly appreciate it.
You got it. Greg Rakestraw, Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. That Fail Harder team was fun to watch. That was an incredible Elam ending on Sunday night to that game with We Are D3. TBT stuff. Joel A. Erickson, top of the hour. You and I, other side. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. That'd be nice. Do it today. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Good. So what's the problem?
I don't know.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Joel A. Erickson, top of the hour. We'll be out at Colts camp coming up on Thursday. Night practice will lead you into that from 3 until 6 or somewhere around there. Yeah, no, kind of on the doorstep now. I'm assuming that maybe not everybody, but most of you have kids that fire school back up again at the end of this week. Laney has to go on Thursday. Oh, how excited. So, yeah, officially the end of summer is weird anymore. Trying to do some things on the weekend, but the weekend is as hectic as the week is, and yeah. Weird stuff. Evan Sherrill's in studio, Cluster Truck, clustertruck.com. $25 order or more, you'll get $5 off by mentioning FAN, clustertruck.com. What'd you bring for us, brother?
Well, we got the classic salmon and roasted veggies for you, JMV.
Yes.
For James, brought one of the favorites, Nashville hot strips, some tater tots on the side.
Nashville hot strips.
House-made
That's
ranch.
that sounds like a good strip club name right there. Nashville hot strips. Yeah.
And they're good tenders, too. Good chicken tenders as well.
Now, are these breaded or are they grilled?
They are breaded.
Do they come
hand-breaded?
Anything grilled? What do you have grilled chicken-wise?
We have a grilled chicken club.
Nice.
It's got Swiss cheese, bacon, avocado, lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion, mayo. It is piled high. That is phenomenal. What else do we have? Grilled chicken on salads. Southwest Wrap has grilled
tenderloin
chicken.
at that place?
We do not. Fried tenderloin.
Fried tenderloin. Where's your tenderloin rank compared to? Everybody thinks they have a great tenderloin. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I mean,
does.
I can't speak to it because I haven't tried our tenderloin, but
is it one of those big things that looks like home plate?
It is pretty big.
Okay.
It is pretty big. But the reviews say that our tenderloin is phenomenal, so I'll have to try it and get back to you on that one.
Phenomenal tenderloin. Do you give a decent sized bun, or do you have a little tiny bun in the middle of this big tenderloin?
It is our classic bun. It's a sweet potato bun, so it does look kind of comical sometimes with the tenderloin.
You have a classic bun, do you?
But you can get an extra bun on the side as well.
Extra bun.
So
does anybody ever say, give me a little extra bun with that?
Absolutely.
I've often wondered with those big tenderloins, does anybody say, why are you even giving me this little piece of bun here?
I agree. No, I agree with you. That's why the extra bun is classic. Cut the tenderloin in half, get 2 buns going.
All right. When are you going to put some halibut on the menu? Is that coming?
Ooh, halibut. That's a new request. I'll have to look into that one. I think we can make that happen.
Halibut, buddy.
We had walleye a couple seasons ago, and it was just on the menu seasonally. Yeah. So halibut, not impossible.
I dig the salmon, though, man. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know who creates the salmon in the kitchen, but it is exceptional salmon, brother.
It was Chef Epsy today, so
yes,
straight from the head chef herself, so I'm sure that it's phenomenal.
I love it. What else you guys got coming up before we let you go here?
Well, like you said, back to school is coming up, and I know that can get expensive for people, so we're running a back to school week of deals, the 11th through the 17th. Every single day there's a different deal, from $6 Southwest Wrap to buy one, get one free mac and cheese, buy one, get one free ice cream, lazy breakfast burrito, all types of deals. So stay on the lookout for that. Like I said, August 11th through the 17th. And, partner with Live Golf. We're giving away tickets right now.
Yes.
Someone actually commented on our Instagram post giving away the tickets that they listen every week on JMV, and they're hoping
damn
they can
right
win.
You do.
So
I wonder who that is. Let's see if we can call him out right here. What's their name?
I think it was like JT Money or something like that.
JT, you know what? It
right?
makes sense that somebody named JT Money listens to this show.
I think that was the name.
Dave Cash, JT Money, Dollar Bill. Makes sense. Makes sense right there.
No, I'm
Travelers check.
Grateful that people listen and want to be a part of the Cluster Truck, family. So.
You want to say that? You almost said the Cluster Truck Nation. I dig that right there.
No.
Be a part of the Cluster Truck Nation.
Hopefully someday.
Clustertruck.com. $25 order or more, you'll get $5 off. Mention FAN, F-A-N, to get that $5 discount of an order of $25 or more. Clustertruck.com. Evan Sherrill's in studio, my brother. I cannot thank you enough. Always awesome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys very much for having us. We really, really appreciate it, and look forward to a partnership in the future.
Shout out to JT Money.
Shout out.
Quick break. JT Money to Joel A. Erickson of the Star. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
with JMV.
I fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelled of elderberries.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, that was Evan Sherrill, Cluster Truck, clustertruck.com. $25 order or more, get $5 off. Shout out to JT Money, who's taking full advantage of the promo code FAN. James, over there, I'm John. Thank you for joining us. Greg Rakestraw, podcast 1075thefan.com. Charles Arbuckle joins us on the show coming up tomorrow. I am going to be at Colts camp in Westfield for the first time on Thursday. And, oddly enough, all that it takes is finally giving me the opportunity to go and attend and do the show up there. And the skies that were clear even more. The temperatures, the humidity all fall. And, it becomes Shangri-La to a degree. Who's been fighting through the heat? Well, our next guest on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from the Indianapolis Star. He covers the Colts. Joel A. Erickson was us. And, I've mentioned this before. Unfortunately, at the age of 55, I'm kind of this perfect mixture between hillbilly and douchey. So the douchey in me wanted to know, do you strategically, during these hot and humid days, like today, for example, select a shirt so you don't get sweat and pit stains going when you're covering the Colts up there?
You know what? That's a good question. I definitely sweat a ton. I always have, so I'm kind of out of luck on that. But I do pretty much the dry fits. Now, if I have to do a spot for my friends at Fox 59 and CBS 4,
yes,
I will often bring a second T-shirt, a second polo shirt, in order to avoid some of those issues.
So, unlike you, when I'm on with our friends, you do First and Joel. I do when they call me, and most of the time I'm, hopefully I'm not drunk on a Sunday to come on their Sunday show. Normally I do it shirtless. So yeah, there's a huge gap between our professionalism right there on Fox 59, and I can only imagine whom they like better, Joel, at this point in time, having you or me on. So.
Well, I think sometimes we share the same show because you're on Blue Zone as well.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And usually that's my recap part once we get to the season. So we share the same show. Now, obviously, if you're doing it from home and I'm doing it from the stadium, we're going to have a little bit different modes of dress.
I thought that I was as responsible as 2 weeks ago. Phil called me and he goes, "Hey, you want to come on and do a tape segment?" I think Hagan was out. He was someplace else. And I said, "Yeah, Phil, but, man, it is entirely possible that I am going to be way, way too much in the bag by the time taping rolls around here." So he goes, "Hey, you know what? Just go ahead and stay. Go ahead. Stay with what you're doing right there." Because there has been a time before they go, "Would you mind taping this over?" So I go, "Yeah, we can tape it over again if you guys want." But no, it's a fun group, and that's part of it too. I mean, you're more the serious, newsworthy, and I'm more the douchey jackassery kind of thing. So it's kind of you get service from both angles, which I think is good. And you know this to be true. It is a very good group to be a part of and to work with, even though I do it for free. How about that? So. I do it for free. I do it for free because Hagan does it for free for me, just like you do. So, yeah. But, hey, I was thinking about you. We just popped open a little Field of Dreams with Drew Storen, his product.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we just popped open a little Field of Dreams, and they have baseball players on the cork, on the lid, the cork, if you will. And we just popped open a Field of Dreams about an hour ago, and Robin Yount was the player on the cork. How about that? Is that your
Rocky
favorite
Robin.
brewer of all time, Robin Yount?
I'm a little bit young. He's my favorite, but he's by far and away the greatest brewer of all time. There's really no comparison to Yount.
Agreed. And he stayed there. He never left, whereas Molitor left and delivered in Toronto as well. I am a big fan of Harvey's Wallbangers in '82, and one because I hate the Cardinals, but I wanted to see Milwaukee. You know, when they were a part of the American League then, they were in the 82 World Series. I wanted to see them win. But from Yount to Molitor to Gantner to Ogilvy, Cecil Cooper, Gorman Thomas, Ted Simmons, Vukovic. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was talking to Taekwon Lewis last week. Taekwon Lewis's hometown is Tarboro, North Carolina. That is also the hometown of former right-hander Mike Caldwell of the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes.
I did not know that. Kenny Moore knows DL Hall, who's on the current Brewers.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's the other Colts player connection there. Kenny went out and visited their training camp this year, and didn't know I was a Brewers fan, so I commented on it. I think I got myself in trouble a little bit, but it works out. He knows I'm a Brewers fan now. We got it figured out.
Did you see our guy Yoho go out there and pitch last night?
I did. I keep waiting. They need to give him a little bit more of a chance, but I get it.
Yeah.
You get two guys on, and in that series, you're going to have to go to the closer. But yeah, I've been pulling for Yoho for a while now. I keep waiting for a chance for him to be on the roster so my kids can go to a game and hold up a "We're from Fishers 2" sign.
Yeah, well, see, it's awesome. Yoho, by the way, is a name synonymous where I'm from in Greene County. It is.
Okay.
It is. Yoho is, and I didn't even know. There's a Yoho that I work with from Zinc that I think lives in Plainfield, but I didn't know the Yohos got all the way up in Hamilton County like that. And Craig Yoho is one. I felt bad for him last night because when he faced that last hitter and walked him, the walk to the mound was not. There was a lot of mumbling going on when he was taken out, if you could tell last night. Little red-faced mumbling going on.
Yeah, Pat doesn't. Pat's not really. The new school manager is very calm and collected, and never lets his emotions show. But Pat Murphy is not new school. He's very old school.
He was not happy at all, and I got to get Craig Yoho on this show at some point. I don't think he's ever been on, but it is a cool as hell story. And obviously the Brewers beat the Cubs last night. Dodgers beat the Reds last night. That's what's going on in the NL Central. I did want to ask you this regarding the Colts to start. So much, Joel, the focus has been on the quarterback situation. There's no matter if it's Richardson, if it's Daniel Jones. Is there anything significant, either good or bad, that a lot of people are missing out on because there is so much of a laser focus on the quarterback situation and position right now?
I kind of would say I don't think so, because I think the one development that it's early, you don't know if this is a thing or not, but it's just really the receiver who's been the most consistent, who's been really good so far has been Alec Pierce, and there's been some inconsistency elsewhere. But I think if you're paying attention to the quarterback battle and really living and dying on it, you probably know that from reading the stuff we've written from out there. I think that's the only thing. I think everything else has kind of looked a little bit the way we expected it to. I think that what we've learned is, over the years here, is that as much as you want the quarterback to not matter as to have an outsized impact on this football team, I think Colts fans by now know that that's just what's going to happen. So yeah, I kind of think that I kind of get it when it comes to focusing hard on the quarterback position. Although I did tell myself after I typed up my observations today, I made a note. I got to have a little bit more on the other parts of the roster and not just on the quarterback position.
Yeah, see, and it's funny here where we kind of play the hits. And certainly that's like the Rick Astley and Never Gonna Give You Up in 1987-88 right here. You play it absolutely, nonstop. Or the Chumbawamba tub thumping of the 90s, you play it nonstop. It's certainly worthy of it. But it's funny, I have a lot of confidence, Joel, in the pass catchers, because I believe there to be a lot of talent there. But if there has been, a major negative so far, and not just in terms of A.D. Mitchell, it seems like that from what you guys are talking about, there have been a number, and really any numbers too many, a number of drops in the first week of camp there.
Yeah, it remains to be seen if that's just sort of a rust thing, and we won't see it after the first week. It's small sample size, it's practice. You got to you always put that in there. But there have been drops. Michael Pittman's had some drops. Josh Downs has had some drops. Tyler Warren has had fewer, I think, outright drops. I think there have been some contested catch opportunities, but you probably want your tight end to come away with that he hasn't necessarily come away with. I do think the completion percentages of both Richardson and Jones would be higher if they've been a little more sure-handed. We'll find out as it goes along and as we get into the real stuff in the games if this is, something to worry about or something not to worry about. I think most fans know there was the Jamar Chase's rookie year in Cincinnati. There was the Jamar Chase is dropping everything in camp, and then he went out and had an incredible season anyway. So you tend to write some of that stuff off. But then there's other training camp stuff that ends up becoming a thing. So it's just hard to know. All you can do is kind of watch it and write down what you see and then make note of it for later.
If you were going to think during the season, is this wide receiving group, and let's go ahead and I'm going to factor in Warren as well because it is something, we'll get into that in just a second, what he is doing so far, and hopefully that is a translation as a rookie to the regular season as well. But is this pass-catching group good enough to raise the game of either one of these quarterbacks significantly to you?
That's a great question. I think they've got enough to help a quarterback. In terms of raising their game, I think that it's probably hard for a receiving core to do that. I think what we've seen here is that the quarterback ends up affecting the pass catcher more than the other way around. I think Alec Pierce is maybe the best example. He definitely made strides over the last year, but a big difference for him, from his first 2 years to last year was last year he had quarterbacks who were willing to throw it to him down the field, and some of that stuff is kind of out of his control. I do think, though, that they have, they've kind of got every type of target for them. They've got guys who can do a little bit of everything. I think Shane Steichen does a pretty good job of getting those guys open based on what we've seen the first 2 years. I think that's all there. I think the question I have is do they have the quarterbacks to take advantage of, kind of the skill set? They don't have the Jamar Chase. They don't have the guy who can do everything, but they've got a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things. That usually is enough if the quarterback can take advantage of it.
Right side, interior offensive line, which obviously would hard target center and right guard. Any concerns there at all? Because I think everybody feels good about Ryman and Nelson, and it looks like that you have a rejuvenated and in a great place Braden Smith, from what we understood yesterday when he was talking to you guys, today or yesterday. I think it was yesterday, in fact, he was talking to you guys. But whatever the case, are there any concerns on the interior of that offensive line there on the right side?
I think the position I'm focused on right now is center. They're not really rotating Matt Gonzalez at right guard much, which tells me that they're pretty confident in him. We'll find out in the regular season. That's not really his natural position, but we'll find out in the regular season if that confidence is warranted. Center right now, it has been a very even competition between Tanner Bortolini and Danny Pinner in terms of snaps. So one guy is getting one day, the other guy is getting the next day. They're not really deviating from that. I think that's the position I'm kind of paying the closest attention to right now, and wondering, is Bortolini maybe not taking the step that they want, that kind of thing, in terms of you want that pick to develop into the starter, but through the first 6 days, it's been very even between those two.
What have your eyeballs told you, if anything whatsoever? I don't know if it'd be definitive, but at least descriptively, what have your eyeballs told you about Spencer Strader? Because I kind of want to know what is going to work for them. What are they going to trust with him? How trustworthy might they be with him in this training camp and the preseason? What do you think?
I think that the biggest kicks are coming. Starting with Thursday night, starting with that big practice Thursday night, the special teams coordinator there, Brian Mason, is really, really good about just kind of laying it all out there for us. And he told us today, he gave us all the numbers. He's 39 of 43 in the kicks they've graded through the first 7 days or whatever. Schrader's been good. Trujillo kind of had a rough week last week, and then he's bounced back this week and made all his kicks. I think the biggest kicks, though, are the ones they're looking at that night practice as a pressure practice, the joint practices coming up, and then obviously the big kicks in the preseason games is when I think that we're going to really find out how they feel about Spencer Schrader or Maddox Trujillo if Schrader falters.
Joey Erickson of the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The show is going to be up there coming up on Thursday, getting you set for the night gathering at Grand Park in Westfield with the Colts. I brought up Tyler Warren, the rookie, a little bit earlier, and I think with good reason. He's been conversationally at a very high level so far in less than a week of camp underway in Westfield. Do you think that they're going to utilize him as much as some would suggest or believe they might? Or is this one of these camp stories that once you get into the regular season, that kind of fades a little bit? What do you think?
No, I think they're going to use. I think going back to the off season, in the spring, back in May and June, I think it feels like they want him to be a big piece of this. And the interesting thing to me is going to be what do we see them do with all of those other skills that he has that other tight ends don't? The short yardage ability as a quarterback. Can you use that as a wildcat, but not just as a wildcat? Like, does that make him a better screen player than we've seen from the tight ends? Can you throw in the shovel? That kind of stuff is interesting to me. They need those run after the catch type of players in the offense, and obviously he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, it sounds. I mean, let's simply put, I don't know when's the last time, other than Dallas Clark, when there was something, and he maybe even goes a couple of more dimensions than Dallas did, because it really wasn't necessary to get that stinking tricky back in the day with Dallas Clark. But it seems like he is a Swiss Army knife type that we have not seen, certainly at that position here before.
Yeah, and I think that the running ability kind of makes him – I'm trying to think of another tight end who kind of has that, where you can – I mean, there's some guys who are good after the catch, but they're more, down the field, open field. He's a guy who's comfortable around the line of scrimmage. And I think that kind of makes him a different – there was a play in practice the other day where Richardson threw it behind him on a screen and just stuck his left hand back and just caught it with one hand and kept going in traffic at the line of scrimmage like a running back. That's just kind of a different skill set than you see from most tight ends. And it's really interesting to see how they use him, and also, just like with everybody else, how does the quarterback play affect him?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Well, I think at this point, until further notice, I'd like to see this group have the opportunity to raise the game, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, of the quarterback position. But, in the past, we've seen with Richardson, it's been so far inaccurate where most of the time it hasn't been possible. But then, Joel, I bring that up, and then it's been very descriptive about how many drops we have seen in almost the first week of camp. So, one of these days, maybe the planets will align and we'll get the opportunity to see something more legitimate in this case. Hopefully, it isn't as bad as it sounded. Non-contact, carted off. Doesn't sound good whatsoever. Anything regarding Jalen Jones you can make us aware of?
I would just say that as hamstrings go, it didn't look great, live. He really pulled up hard and went to the ground and didn't really move. The carting off, they kind of do that with everybody because their medical facility part is so far away from the practice field here. But I did think that it looked like it was, he felt that grab pretty tightly in his leg. And, hamstring injuries can be nagging. I think everybody knows that. And if they're serious, they can last a little bit longer. So I have some concern on that just based on what we saw. A lot of times when a guy pulls a hamstring, they kind of run through it a little bit. He couldn't do that at all. He really pulled up hard on that injury, and that's tough to see for a guy who's really locked into a kind of a competition for his spot.
Yeah. Juju Brents, hamstring. Obviously, injuries with Juju is something that seems somewhat, if not certainly, customary with his time with the Colts. What's the word there?
That one's interesting. He wasn't out there today. We talked to him yesterday, so you don't know when it happened. We didn't get to see that one. I think anytime there's a hamstring, though, you got to think, like even the most minor hamstring, you got to immediately kind of think a week, maybe a little bit longer than that. I know in the NFL sometimes guys play through hamstrings, which I give it up to them because, usually when you have a hamstring, you never know when it's going to grab on you and you can't run. But yeah, this time of year, you figure that's at least a week, and he's right in there with Justin Wally, too, and Wally right now is the only one healthy in that competition.
It's funny. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's got a little bit of that local lean for me. I just think that if he could piece together some quality availability, he's going to be a guy in a season with Lou Anarumo in this defense where everybody's going to be glad, and he's going to go. People are going to go, "Oh wow, this is what you've been waiting on." But it all hinges on any sort of consistent availability.
Yeah, he's looked good when he's been out there for practice so far. He had an interception in one practice. He's made some plays on the ball. I think that's kind of how his career's gone too. I think when he's been on the field, we've seen good stuff from him. He just hasn't been able to stay on the field, like you said. And I think if you can get him a run of healthy play, I still think there's something in there. It's just, man, it's got to be tough every time you feel like you're getting going again to have your body kind of let you down a little bit.
Are you a Bucks guy, Joel? Milwaukee
Bucks? I'm not. That's the one team growing up in Wisconsin that I never really got into. I decided David Robinson was my favorite player when I was like 5, and so I'm a Spurs guy.
Okay, that makes sense. I was gonna ask you the old Miles question, but since you're not a Bucks guy, you probably don't give a damn. So yeah, it's all good, man. All good. But I can go deep on the Brewers. I can go back before you were born on the Brewers. There were some great eras. I was always a big Rob Deere guy. I loved the all or nothing dudes of Major League Baseball back in the day. Loved it.
Did you see what they did last week with their alumni event?
I didn't.
So they had the 25 years of, I think of it as Miller Park, but they call it American Family Field now, and they brought back a player from every year, ostensibly or whatever. But then they took 10 guys, recently retired guys, and had a home run derby. So Prince Fielder, Ryan Braun, Corey Hart, all these guys from the recent teams came back and did like an impromptu home run derby. It was awesome. It looked like the coolest thing. Like, what a great, every franchise should copy that if they have their guys within the right age range. Get a chance to see these guys that, the Fielder and Braun, those guys are the ones that ended the playoff drought in 2008. They brought them all back, packed house on a Friday against the Marlins, and watched those guys hit. And the other thing that I didn't know what they were going to be able to hit, not playing baseball for a while, just about every one of them hit some actual legitimate homers. Really cool event, like the kind of thing that more major league teams should do.
Man, I love that stuff too. I agree. I absolutely. There was nothing, even going way back to when I was, growing up. You had the old timers play, and some of those guys out there could still swing it. It was pretty fun to watch. Some couldn't, but some could.
I mean, if the Reds said Joey Votto's going to hit batting practice after a game,
yes,
every Reds fan would go to that.
Everybody. Well, and oftentimes it would be more interesting than what the product would be on the field. So yes, it went like last night. I could see that come. I was telling Greg Rakestraw all this. I said, last night I kind of jinked the Reds because I had Lance McAllister on and talked up that series starter with the Dodgers, and he said, well, the Dodgers are pretty good, but the Reds are very well known as being habitual bed crappers. That's exactly what they are. So when there's an opportunity to crap the bed, they're probably going to take advantage of it. That's kind of what it looked like at times. The Dodgers are good, but that's what it at times looked like last night. First and Joel on Fox 59. When are we going to see you again?
It will be. I believe I have segments taping on Thursday, or maybe not. Maybe not taping. I might be live on Thursday from out there right around the time you'll be getting done with your show, I believe.
Awesome. And then on Sunday, First and Joel, and then me shirtless with John. So that'll be all good. So great. Joel, I appreciate it. We'll see you Thursday.
Okay, we'll see you on Thursday.
Joel A. Erickson of the Star, the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I shall take a break, but I will talk with you on the other side. If you feel inclined, that'd be great. If not, cool. I get a ton to yip-yap about the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Just because your summertime and the kids are going back to school is ending, become a AAA member if you haven't already. Listen, fall break, let's just say it, is going to be just around the corner. You're going to go directly to back to school, to pumpkin spice latte, to fall break, and like that. Promise. AAA membership. Like James. James's truck crept out right there in the middle of I-74. Goes, hey, I'm done. What James do? AAA. AAA.com. Become a member today. And by the way, too, Ruoff, Symphony on the Prairie, the Indians, great deals and perks you get by being a AAA member at all three of those venues. Let me take a break. We'll come back. We got a lot more for you. Do not go anywhere. Kyle Nedenrip's got some stuff for us. Top of the 5 o'clock hour. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
It's quite pungent. It stings the nostrils.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right. An official weather announcement. 95 degrees, everybody, today. So this would make this day. What's the date?
It's the 29th.
The 29th of July, the hottest day of the year so far. 95. So if it's 95 degrees officially, oftentimes, people, have their own weather systems, their own readings. What does it say where you are? I've always said this. I went 2 years to Vincennes University. So did James. And Vincennes and Evansville, for whatever reason, I'm sure that there is something geographically as to the reason why. But Vincennes and Evansville and southwestern Indiana is always like 5 degrees hotter than every place else. And Vincennes is kind of like in a bowl. The bowl of the Wabash. Not bowel, bowl. 95 degrees. So I wonder, Vincennes has got to be like 98. Evansville's probably, 99? Gritty, what's Evansville right now? 101? 95 degrees. The hottest day of the year so far in Indianapolis. 95. Now, that still seems hot. I remember back in the day, speaking of 95, remember when a 95-mile-an-hour fastball was fast? Considered, wow, that's fast. He throws hard 95 miles an hour. Now nobody's eyes pop until you go $1.02 or something like that. 95 degrees. James, look up the official temp right now in Evansville, Indiana. What's it say? It's got to be 98 down there. Got to be. And Vincennes, too. Check out Vincennes.
In Evansville, it's actually only 93.
Oh, they have cloud cover down there in Vanderburgh County.
I'm guessing that's
what
it is.
That doesn't follow along with my theory. That debunks my theory altogether. That sucks.
And Vincennes is 92.
92? What?
I wonder, though, if it might be more humid or anything down there.
Gritty says this, live from Evansville, Indiana. This is the heart of Vanderburgh County is Gritty. Feels like 105. It's 93 from what Gritty says. Feels like 105. Overnight low 73. Did you ever think that Vincennes was just... I always thought it was the hottest place in Indiana.
It was quite hot when I was there, yeah.
Love me some Vincennes, man. Numbers are in for the weekend. IndyCar at Laguna Seca. 734,000 watch Sunday's Java House Grand Prix in Monterey. The 734 from Laguna Seca, the 7th race in 14 held so far this year to deliver an average audience between 700K and 781. Thermal, just a little bit over 7, and Road America 781. The other 7 have delivered to 5. Long Beach was 500,000. Barber was 914. St. Petersburg, 1 mil. Indy, obviously, the lead dog in that category, over 7 mil. 734 for the Grand Prix of Monterey over the weekend. That on Sunday. 239-1070 is the number. Look who is back. We go to Brooklyn, New York, and Mike. Mike, that was a scary situation in the NFL building. That was awful yesterday.
Yeah, I heard about that. Was there was a lot of disruption on the subways yesterday too.
Yeah,
I was coming home from work, so I didn't hear about it until I got home. So,
yeah, Well, I didn't think I heard about it until this morning, but yeah, some frightening stuff and loss of life, just terrible situations, no doubt.
Yeah, I know. I think I got a buddy of mine that works in that building. I mean, I've been in that building on Park Avenue.
Yeah, the guy went up with a gun in the wrong. He was going to the NFL, but he went up the wrong elevator. From what was said.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's awful stuff. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, we're sharing the pain here with the Asia reference because we're baking over here on the East Coast.
Oh, really? What's the temp in the borough of Brooklyn right now?
It's in the night, but it's the index is like in the hundreds. So I don't even want to know, to be honest with you. It's just hot. I don't even want to go outside.
So, like, our vision here, because we're all country folk here in the Hoosier State. So does Mike in Brooklyn? Does he go to the corner and pop open the fire plug to cool down? Is that what you're doing?
No, not anymore. When I was younger, you thought. Yeah.
I know I sound like the Fresh Prince right there with that, but yeah.
yeah. I think there's still some because they're not around here. There's too many hipsters out there. Everybody just stays in the air conditioner now.
I know you want to talk about the Colts. What you got?
Yeah, I'm still processing the sad news with Jim Irsay's passing.
Yeah.
He's definitely the end of an era, and these guys all did a great job, putting it this, perspective what impact he had in the community, and listening to everybody from Rick Venturi and Peyton and Reggie Wayne and Bruce Arians.
I found myself. I mean, you just miss it because there's such a significant piece that is now missing. I mean, you miss it for that reason. I miss his presence. I always thought, all right, so what are we going to see in social media? It's going to be something in that game in which he normally goes into the booth with Rakestraw and Venturi. What's going to take place there and how that's going to be missed. You find yourself certainly just missing his presence in general, and he was a genuine dude. There's no doubt.
Yeah, for me, a Colts fan since '75. Not then, and Jim was older than me. But he was like the kind of guy. I was like, this guy is actually the owner, and he's actually the GM when he's in his 20s. I was still a teenager. And I do have one Jim Irsay story that I had forgotten about.
Sure.
You'll remember this. It was the 1992 season when I was at the Meadowlands back then. I was sitting behind the Colts bench, and Ted Marchibroda benched Jeff George, and he threw like a hissy fit, like a kindergarten kid. He threw his helmet. I was sitting right behind the Colts bench. He threw his helmet, and he started pouting. He put his jacket on, and he went and stood at the end of the sideline like a kid, not talking to anybody. And at some point in that off season, when Jim Irsay was the general manager, I wrote him a letter, like a handwritten letter to the facility. I was like, this guy, whatever, we're never going to win with this guy or something along those lines. And a couple of days later, he sent me. I got a delivery. It was an autographed football from the entire team. And I was like, what? Then I was thinking, well, wait a second. How did he know where to send this? And then I must have remembered, I just written the headline. I must have put, I put a return address on it.
Sure.
And I just thought it was like the coolest thing. It was like he actually took the time to, he sent me like an autographed football from the entire team.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, and you've missed him so far. We've missed him so far, but it's even going to be more profound when the season officially gets underway. It will. I mean, that's something where, regardless of what you do, and I mean, he was, even as one of the richest dudes in the state of Indiana with the money and the team ownership and all that. He had a lot of the same situations and many of the demons that we all have. Just so.
And he was a fan. He was a fan of home. I remember in that I got a kick out of him when they did that. What is that, Hard Knocks thing? And he's got his lucky hats, and he's got his rituals watching the game. And I'm sitting there going, I'm doing that at home.
And the last X message, his last post was "Go Pacers," and good luck to. I mean, it is just, it's tough, and there'll be moments. There'll be more moments than not when you're going to go, wow. These are some things that you miss. I have missed you as well. Mike in Brooklyn, New York. You're going to start calling again, right? Since the football season is back.
JMV, I will be on board. I'm ready to go. I've never gone into a Colts season not thinking that they were going to win the Super Bowl. So I got to,
It's what fans do, man. It's what fans do.
Yeah.
Completely understandable. Mike, we'll do it again soon.
Okay, JMV, take care.
Mike in Brooklyn, New York. Eddie White just texted me, by the way, and said his car says 103. Now, I don't know if that means he's actually listening to 103.3. What is that now? It used to be X103. Now it's like Walt, or it really stinks. I don't know what it is now. Remember when it used to be really good, X103? You guys all remember when it used to be really good? That's what you're saying about me. You remember when he used to be really good? Actually, you never said that. Why has this guy sucked for 25 years is normally what you say. So, Kyle Neddenrip's going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. I got to thinking about this before I saw this news story. What's the nicest high school football stadium? What's the best? And I'm not just talking about with history, but what is the best high school football stadium in the state of Indiana? I don't know if anybody has seen the Georgia high school football stadium that's just cracking open, but that's ridiculous right there. That story and more, Kyle, coming up at the top of the hour. We're not too far away from the start of the high school football season. Kyle will give us a little bit of insight on what to expect. He joins us coming up at 5. Don't go anywhere. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Banana in the tailpipe.
You're not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, the late Glenn Fry, because it's 95 in Indy. In all streets with holes. We call them potholes. Or a great deal of road cone. So I mentioned this in Gritty in Evansville. And listen, I love grit. I love the Rice Bowl. Not the Rice Bowl, the Rice Bowl. I know you have Rice Bowl. What? Evansville Rites High School. The Rice Bowl sits up on a hill overlooking the Ohio, kind of right at a bend on the. It's awesome. Great atmosphere. Love the Rice Bowl. But I asked the question a little bit earlier, what is, I guess I probably should have added, what is the nicest, most expensive of the high school football stadiums in the state of Indiana? This is something, if I remember, I'll ask Kyle Neddenrip coming up at the top of the hour. And the reason why I brought this up is because I saw this. This was according to the Sports and Business Joe Pompliano. Let me go ahead and butcher that name for everybody. He's only got 602,000 followers, so he's relatively important. So Joe, with a last name I butcher, had sent this out. Buford High School in Georgia has officially opened its new, get this, $62 million football stadium. I'm going to tell you what, not even Ray Skillman's paying for that. $62 million football stadium. 10K in seats, James. 15 luxury suites. By the way, look up Buford High School, Georgia. Where is that located? I'm assuming around Atlanta. Maybe wrong. A 35,000 square foot video scoreboard. 2-story field house with locker rooms. 62 million. When you see this is absurd. I went to Eastern Green. We didn't even have football when I went to Eastern Green. Incredible this place is. I wonder what ticket prices are. What are sweet prices? 10,000 seats. $62 million football stadium. It reminded me to ask Kyle Neddenrip this at the top of the hour. It's pretty damn interesting right there. I did not know what people would suggest would be the nicest one around here. Hey, give me Nick before the top of the hour. Would you, James, please? Nick, join the show. How are you, sir?
Johnny, never better. How are you?
Nick, I'm fantastic.
Good. By the way, football is not really our gig here, but Newcastle has quite an arena for basketball.
$62 million, buddy.
I know.
62 mil.
I was calling in for a different reason.
Okay.
Which was you had told a story about Busch Light and putting
Heineken cap on the keg. Yes.
Yeah. Well, look, I grew up here, but went to school out in the East Coast, and so we would get Milwaukee's Best as our kegs.
Yes.
And we were not so high and mighty as to get a Heineken keg to put the cap on. But ours was Rolling Rock.
Yes. Well,
we're from
that's a very pretentious green bottled beer too. Is it not?
And
I mean, Rolling Rock's as pretentious a beer as Heineken, is it not? Just from this country. Yeah. I mean, from from Old Latrobe, Rolling Rock?
Yeah, no.
I know our friend Eddie White, by the way, our friend Eddie White of Pennsylvania is going to be very offended by this conversation, by the way. But it is a very pretentious beer. It is very douchey.
So
yes,
I've got a follow-up story to that. There is a locale that I went to in the northwest side of Indianapolis that is named after the street it's on, and it's a pub, and it's 86th Street.
Yeah.
And so you can do the math on that. And they had an evening where they said domestic bottles were $2. And I had a friend go up who's from Buffalo, not from Indianapolis, who went up to the bar and ordered a Rolling Rock. And they said, that'll be $3.50. And he said, well, wait, domestic bottles are $2. And they said, that's an import.
Hey, to put a cap on the, by the way, the 86th Street pub no longer is in existence, is it?
Look, I haven't been there in ages.
I found a shirt. I found a shirt of that and thank you, Nick, for the call. I appreciate that. I found a shirt of that in my closet. I had, and this is douche-tacular right here. I had a douchey acquaintance that would hold an empty Rolling Rock bottle at the bar because he didn't want to buy another one. He didn't want to drink another one. And he thought he looked cool. That's a true story. True story about old Latrobe. Quick break. Back with you next.
The Ride with JMV.
Just an average guy with exceptional hair.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. We did Joel A. Erickson of the Star. I'll be at Colts camp for the night practice coming up on Thursday. I have no idea who we're talking to, but I'm sure it's going to be somebody incredibly exciting. Who would you guess, James, over there? What are we playing right here? Is this stuff that you're just picking? Oh, this is your Spotify right there, isn't it?
You don't recognize this song?
Hold on a second. This is early 70s. Da, da, da.
Smoke on the Water.
Yeah, Smoke on the Water. Deep Purple. Golly. Sorry about that, dude. That's embarrassing. Is that your Spotify?
I mean, it's my Spotify account. It's some random person's playlist.
So is your premium Spotify account, do the non-premiums play commercials?
Yeah, non-premium.
Non-premium
will play commercials.
That would suck.
Yeah, it
you
would.
Imagine me. Because I don't know if anybody around here knows that on my All Request Saturday Night JMV Takeovers, my Spotify is used. I don't know if they want me to, but I don't care.
You'll play. Yours is just the regular Spotify?
No, I will. It's got to be premium because there's never.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying now.
So yeah, I do it because let's just face it. If I'm going to do an All Request Saturday Night, I can't jack around with their catalog because there's not enough in it. And it's nothing against them because, all these nerds have told them in the past, well, you got to keep this playlist tight. Got to keep it tight. You know what I mean?
If I'm not mistaken, too, the regular subscription, I'm not even sure you can pick the songs. You can pick, I would like to hear this, but it'll shuffle them, I think.
That would suck.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
It's not great.
So, yeah, we go with the premium. I got a lot of Have you checked my playlists out on there before?
I have not, no.
Oh, buddy. There's a couple of JMV kick-ass backyard bourbon broadcast playlists in there.
Just got them all ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I really took some of the old names. We used to make, I'd take a TDK or a Maxell tape and make a mixtape, right? Back in the day. And the JMV's kick-ass mixtape I'd write on the side of it.
You have any of those kicking around anywhere?
Here's what I have. And this is embarrassing, and I found him the other day. I have a bunch of old Vince Sins and then B97 audition tapes where you think I sound bad now. Holy crap.
We got to, find a way to scan those and digitize them so we can have them available
so
around
bad.
Here.
I have a Southern draw and a lisp. It is so bad. Somebody out there saying, well, you're really bad right now, and you're right, but you have no idea what bad sounds like until you hear that.
I would pay good money to hear these tapes.
It is so bad. So bad. I cannot believe anybody goes, yeah, I think we should hire this guy. Not good. Vince Sins, some Indiana State ones in there. B97. I got some commercials for B97 in Bloomington.
So I've got some hard drives of me doing sportscasts and stuff where I'm in a suit and tie and everything, but.
Woo! Bad. I'll tell you what's good, though. The coverage of high school athletics is done at the most elite level with Kyle Nedenrip of the Star, who joins us now on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. So are you ready? Are you in football operational mode right now, or are you still taking that time off to get going?
Well, I was hoping to hear some Smoke on the Water from Deep Purple. Now that you brought that, does Eastern Green play that still for their?
You know what? We ran out to seriously. The band played Peter Gunn. When we ran out of the locker room and we ran through one of those paper hoops that had stuff written on it, beat the hell out of the Cardinals, Bloomfield, or whatever. We ran through one of those paper hoops to Peter Gunn. Hey, play Peter Gunn really quick. What did you run out to, Kyle?
In Nebraska. They played. I remember them playing the Jay Giles band, Centerfold. The band would play that.
Oh, awesome! We should have played that.
Yeah, they would. We actually ran out to AC/DC Thunderstruck.
See, there you go. Here's what we ran out to right here.
Who was Peter Gunn by? Because there are multiple options just popped up.
Play.
I've got Blues Brothers. I've got Henry.
Play the Art of Noise.
Art of Noise.
Peter Gunn.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that's what we ran out to from 1987. This is what we ran out to. I have no idea why to this day. I better stroke to 3 when we ran out to this because there's no excitement being built with this, is there, Kyle?
No, I mean, I guess it gets you in sort of a melodic state or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, Art of Noise. I think what happened is I think our band learned one song that year, and that was it.
Hey, I'm always I'm any band who does it in person now. I'm all for it. I mean, I love it when the high school basketball starts and the band is there. I'll give them credit for just doing it.
Yes. Yeah. Here's what I bring this up all the time. Like we talk about how high school athletics have changed, but when you look at bands and choirs, the level, like I went to a choir concert that my daughter was a part of at the end of this last year at Center Grove. I'm absolutely floored. Like it looked to me like it was better than a Vegas show or a Broadway show. I was absolutely floored. And, you know, when I was in high school or in junior high, when you'd go to a choir Christmas concert, it'd be a bunch of rubes standing up on stage singing Let It Snow or something. But this was incredible, and nobody makes a mistake. And you've got all these moving parts. So we talk all the time, and rightly so, it's a sports show, about how, you know, things are, you know, more athletic and, you know, more high level now in athletics than they were back then. But, man, this other stuff, the band and the choir stuff is incredible to me.
You're absolutely right. And I you know, and the kids who are in those, you know, choir, band, you know, the arts, you know, they're doing it for, you know, they don't get the support necessarily like the athletes do, but man, I've been around some really awesome experiences, you know, just covering high school sports and getting to see the singers and the, you know, the bands and stuff like that. It really adds so much to the experience. It's hard to put into words how different the experience is when the band is there and they're doing stuff like that to spice everything. But it's you know, I love that part of it too. And when high school football starts here in a month or so, that's, to me, that's part of the fun of it. Is like, man, you know, it's football, especially at the start of school, everybody's excited, and it's almost like a whole community experience, and that is a part of it too that sometimes we overlook. But you're absolutely right. It's gotten a lot, you know, it's crazy how much time those kids put into it, and it's awesome to see when they do get recognized.
I saw it firsthand and these choir folks work every bit as hard as these athletes do. Seriously.
Absolutely.
I mean, they put in just as much time, if not more, than the athletes, and it's crazy. This is Kyle Nedrup at the Star. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I know you and others at the Star have been a part of, you know, going to these older gyms and celebrating that, and they've all been great pieces. What I was thinking about today, because I saw a story online a little bit earlier, there's a high school in Georgia, Kyle, that just opened, in fact, a football stadium that cost $62 million with 10,000 seats, 15 luxury suites, 3,500 square foot video scoreboard, 2-story field house with locker rooms. Buford High School in Georgia is the location. Again, $62 million. So it got me thinking, what's the nicest, most expensive, I guess you would say, high school football stadium in Indiana?
Well, the way it seems like the way that they've been built, it's been more of like additions. You know, we've seen, you know, stadiums that are already in place and
I don't even think Ray Skillman's putting $62 million into one of these stadiums here, is he?
No, I don't think. And it's been kind of a piecemeal type thing. You know, the improvements that have been done to places like Center Grove and, you know, all of really, if you drive around the 465 and look, you know, and outside 465, all of the 6A football facilities, Carmel's got one going now. Brownsburg has redone theirs completely. It's really, really nice. You know, Avon's doing a lot of stuff, you know, so all those suburban schools and the township schools have put a lot of money into not only football, but, you know, facilities in general here in the last, you know, 5 years or so. So you're seeing a lot of upgrades happening, and, you know, it's kind of the keeping up with the Joneses thing anymore, you know, to, you know, it's sort of the, you know, the view of your school sometimes is based on right or wrong. It's what you're doing with your athletic programs. And the part of that is facilities. And namely a lot of times the football stadium. So you're seeing a lot of upgrades here in the last few years for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But $62 million is rather incredible. You mentioned the start of the high school football season about a month away as many schools embark later on this week to back to school. Is it same old situation in each class right now, or do we have some newcomers to the high-level game going into 2025 here?
Well, there are some changes this year with Decatur Central actually is moving. They won 5A last year, and they're bumping up to 6A with the success factor that the IHSA has in place. So that'll be a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. This is their first time playing 6A football, so I think they definitely have the talent to compete at that level. A lot of their skill position talent is back, including Casimir Hicks, who's going to IU to play receiver. And they're replacing Cathedral basically in that sectional. Cathedral bumping back down to 5A, so that's a little bit of a change that we'll see. And Decatur will get a chance early in the season. They play Avon and New Powell. I can't remember the order of those games, but they'll play those two teams early. That'll give them a good sense of maybe how good they are. But also New Powell's bumping up from 4A to 5A, and Heritage Hills, which won 3A last year, is going to 4A. So there are some significant changes from the defending champions of last year. That'll add a little bit of a difference, and it's not a reclass year either. But now that they're doing these success factors annually, you'll see some changes every year by the success factor. So that has changed some of the landscape of it a bit. But I think 6A is going to be great. It always is. Brownsburg won it last year, but there's several teams that will have a good chance, kind of like every year in 6A. And as we know, it's so hard to repeat in that class. So I expect that'll be a really competitive class like it is every year, especially around the Indianapolis area.
Individual talent. I know we're not into it just yet, but expectations compared to, for example, what we saw a year ago. Who may stand out? Who are we watching for here in a month or so from now to start?
I wrote a little bit about the kind of the Mr. Football favorites going into the season, and from a standpoint of the people who can win it, it's normally a skill position player. Obviously, the quarterbacks, receivers, running backs who are kind of the top of that list. And I would say early on, Jet Goldsberry comes to mind from Heritage Hills. He's a quarterback, but will be more of a athlete at Ole Miss, where he's headed, probably a secondary player for them. But he's going to put up good numbers. He's already got a state title under his belt. Casimir Hicks, who I mentioned from Decatur, also in that boat of he's already won a state title, going to IU, which I think will help his case. And he's a receiver. He's going to put up numbers at that spot. And then another guy, I'll give you a third name, or maybe four, but I would say Deacon King from Westfield, a two-way player. He's going to Northern Illinois, but he plays running back and safety. So I think he's a name to watch potentially. And then J.J. Finch, also from Warren Central, who's a defensive player, which that's pretty rare that a defensive player would be in the mix for Mr. Football. But, his numbers are incredible, and he's going to Alabama. So he's obviously very talented. So, but yeah, he's going to put up big numbers on defense. Probably, might not be enough to get him over the hump for the big award, but definitely a guy who should be named in that mix for sure.
It is amazing to see. I mentioned this years ago, and it's only gotten better. Just what you see with the high level. Team wise, it's one thing, and you brought up all these teams, and with the success factor, some moving up, maybe one like Cathedral moving down. But individually speaking, the talent's never been better around here in football. There's no doubt about that.
No, the depth is just really good. I mentioned 6A, but it's every class. There's just a lot of talent in every class, and it's competitive. It's there's people who definitely would like to see the tournament seeded, maybe to get that to make that a little bit more interesting, maybe. But at any rate, it's always competitive in the tournament. 6A around here, especially the big schools, are kind of knocking heads every year, and you do end up seeing a lot of some of the same names at the end of the year. But you've seen also schools like Westfield break through in these last few years and become one of those major players in 6A. And they've gone head to head with some really good teams. We saw Brownsburg for the first time in 6A win it last year. They finally got over the hump and made a tournament run. So you have some other teams competing with the Center Groves, the Warrens, the Ben Davises of the world, who are also very good every year. But I think that adds a little bit to it too when you get some new blood in there and see some different teams get to the finals and eventually win it.
All right, so last year, Mark Zachary won Mr. Football last year, right? And he played dual role, both offense and defense. Has there ever been just a singular defensive player to win that award?
No, not really. I mean, Zachary, you're right. I mean, he was a defensive player.
I think Drake Bowen did the same thing, right? There have been a number of guys because that level of talent that have played both sides. Jason Warner comes to mind. I think Jason Warner did wide receiver and safety at Ron Colley 2 years ago. So some guys come to mind.
Yeah, those are good names to mention because all those guys were defensive guys, but also, you'd be stupid not to play Mark Zachary on offense or Jason Warner on offense. So that, those guys played offense. They put up numbers, big numbers on offense. Drake Bowen was a running back as well as linebacker who was exceptional. That was fun to watch him play high school football. But yeah, most of those guys, if you're a Mr. Football type athlete, you're probably going to play some offense too. So it hasn't really been a case where, and JJ Finch would be, he's one who, he basically he's a defensive end, so he's not playing much offense or any offense, but so he would be in that boat of a defense only guy. But yeah, most of the time, the guys who play, defense who've won it are also playing offense for their high school teams, at least.
He's Kyle Neddenrip of the Star. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'm curious, as far as the end of the high school schedule was basically back in June with baseball and that conclusion. So what's been the major story, maybe the major storyline is we have entered no high school athletics and then restart this thing coming up in a month or so. Actually, earlier than that, considering I'm sure volleyball and other sports are going to start prior to.
Right, yeah, you'll have some other golf and whatnot getting going here. But yeah, I mean, kind of the big thing's been the transfer rule, I would say. That went into effect on June 1st. So a lot of questions about that. A lot of, kids who have moved, and it's I tell people too, that's not that unusual. We always have transfers, but now it's just going to be, it's going to be a little different, I would say. And you get mixed opinions on whether it's good or bad, like a lot of things in this world. But that's probably been the biggest thing as far as like just changes in high school athletics from a standpoint of just the landscape of it all. But it'll be, I think, we won't even know for sure probably for a couple of years how this all plays out. I think there's going to be good and bad to it. I asked a lot for an upcoming story some of the kids about it, and there's mixed opinions from kids. Some say it's good, some say I would never transfer, but I'm they think it's good for kids maybe who may not have an opportunity at their school to play, to maybe go to a smaller school or a different school to have that chance. So, but yeah, I think that's a pretty significant change that was made, and it's still in the IHSA's hands to make decisions on the transfer rule and to be able to kind of mete out the decisions. So, it's not in the hands of the legislature. So it's the IHSA still making those decisions, but some of the rule changes have, maybe made things a little bit more black and white than they used to be, which I think can be a good thing moving forward. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But I think that's probably the biggest thing going on from just an overall high school sports standpoint. A lot of conference changes and things like that, but I would say the transfer thing's probably number one right now.
I know. I thought for sure you're going to say you can't believe that Josh Thompson went from Bar Reeve to Lagodi as the head basketball coach. You've got to be a little bit insane to do that, don't you? No, not because it's a bad gig, but yeah. Good luck in that area, going from one to the other. Josh, come on. Who's a good dude, by the way, really good dude.
Yeah, he is. I ran into him at the Charlie Hughes, but yeah, that was interesting move down in that part of the state. So, but yeah, that'll be. There were a lot of coaching changes too this year. There in Corey Taylor just today hired at Avon, who was interim coach at BD a couple of years ago, but
I think that almost closes the cycle here in central Indiana anyway, unless I'm missing somebody. I probably am, but I think we're pretty much set as far as basketball coaching changes being filled.
You mentioned, where, because you're obviously from there, Brownsburg, and, how consistent they are across the board athletically. We know about Ben Davis. Where's Avon in that category right now as they hire the new basketball coach across the board as far as consistent, high-level winning in athletics out there?
Avon's on the rise, I would say. Football, basketball, a lot of sports I've been good at, maybe that don't maybe get the headlines of football and basketball, but I would say both sports. Drew Schaus was just there for 4 years, and I thought did a really good job. They were a 20-win team last year. 2 years ago, won a sectional, and then last year, in a very competitive sectional with Brownsburg, Ben Davis, Pike, and Plainfield, which that's going to be a dynamite sectional this coming year. But I would say, they're definitely on the rise. I think Corey's going to do a good job there. He's, had that experience 2 years ago as the interim coach. So I think, highly of him and the job he'll do there. And then the football team, they were, Rob Gibson, who coached at Owen Valley before he got the Avon job and kind of got that program really jump-started. But he's come in and done a good job for that football team. But, again, it's tough with, when you're in the HCC, you're playing these tough teams week in, week out. Their quarterback got hurt early in the season last year. So they only finished 3-7, but it was an improvement from where they were the previous year. And I think they're definitely a team that I think could get over the hump this year and be a winning team if they can stay healthy and those sorts of things. But their facilities, again, much better than they were. Their weight room is top notch, and I think they're on the rise in a lot of different sports.
Well, I bring that up because you talk about in closing here, Hendricks County or Western Marion County. You get Ben Davis, you get Plainfield. Mooresville gets talked about. I mentioned Brownsburg, and even further west, you go all the way to Danville, and everybody gets talked about, high level wise, but oftentimes in the middle of that conversation, you don't hear a great deal about Avon, and kind of wonder if the tide will turn a little bit now for the Orioles.
Definitely, and Mark Bless, when he was coach there, they were really good for a while. They were always competing with, they were beating Ben Davis. It was kind of back and forth. They'd beat them or they'd get beat by him, but they were in the mix anyway. And then I think it was 2015. They went down to Center Grove and played a classic. It was one of the best games I've ever seen in the semi-state against Center Grove, and Center Grove beat them. It was the year when they had Brandon Peters at quarterback, and they were just really, really good and lost by a point in double overtime. That team could have definitely won state, if they would have won that game. But that was, so what I'm saying is basically sometimes you miss those chances. How much that may have changed, I don't know, the future of the program. They were good for a few years after that under Mark Bless, but then they kind of fell off, and they're trying to build back to that. So, they're a team that has talent. It's just a matter of, kind of getting things going in the right direction. In football, that's hard sometimes because you're battling against teams that are established in your neighborhood. So, but I do think they're a team that definitely has a chance this year you probably want to keep your eye on what they do and be curious how their season transpires.
He is Kyle Neddenrip of the Star. We're slowly but surely kick-starting, again, the 25-26 high school athletic schedule. He's with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Good update. We'll do it again very soon because, as you mentioned, about a month away from the start of the football season. Man, I always appreciate that.
Hey, no problem, John. Anytime, and have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Kyle Neddenrip on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Nobody is better. He is outstanding. No doubt about that. I just saw. Oh, okay. Forget that. Yeah, Jason, I should have brought up Cascade. My bad. And where's Sorgi? Is Sorgi's kid at Tri-West? Look at James. I don't know. I think Sorgi's kid's the quarterback at Tri-West. I know I bring up like Western Marion and Hendricks County and look, no, Jason, that's terrible. Bad host. Quickly, we'll come back. Hey, we're mean and Ewan the rest of the way. You guys good with that? 239-1070. Tomorrow's show, Charles Arbuckle. I'm going to have somebody from the Colts. I just have no idea who it's going to be yet. And then I'll be out in Westfield coming up on Thursday to see all of you just in time for the night gathering. That's Thursday in Westfield. All of us together with 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
The only time I have my radio on is in my car, and the only thing I listen to is JMV.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, the legend reporter right there. Yeah, I mentioned tomorrow, Charles Arbuckle. Well, Colts conversation with Charles coming up at the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow. Somebody from the Colts. I just don't know who it's going to be yet. And then Thursday on the road in Westfield. It does kind of stink because we're not out at any bars or restaurants this week. But in the not-so-distant future, we are going to be out all the time. I will say this. I think I have done and will have done, once the calendar year changes, I think I will have done more remotes than I've ever done in 1 year. And probably because of the Pacer run, because we were out so much. Now, there was a time years ago when I did some Mondays, if you remember. There was always like a Blue Monday. There was a time I went to the O'Charlie's locations where I think there's like 2 still. There was a time we went to Buffalo Wild Wings on Mondays for like a Blue Monday. And there was a lot, but that I don't think that included the Thursdays. That was prior to the start of Thursdays with Brett Holverson and the Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. But so many on site, and those are the absolute best because I get to hang out with you guys and have a hell of a time. But so many because of the significant Pacers run and taking the NBA season into the distance. It has been one hell of a time. So I guess a little bit of a week off. This may be the second week that I haven't been out at a bar or a restaurant. Hell, I don't know. Going all the way back to, I don't know, between the Colts season, probably, and March Madness. Maybe there was a time in February, but not very many. Hell of a year so far, everybody. And you guys have been such a huge part of it. T. Shaw writes this, JMV, was this the time of year you would go to the Bloomington Sears and get your tough skins for the upcoming school year? In fact, I would. Tough skins. And T. Shaw, there would always be a great deal of sadness, and not because it's time to go back to school. There was sadness there. But not as significant as having to shop in the Husky category for tough skins. Husky. You know what Husky meant, James?
I'm assuming it's a beefier, bigger man.
Yeah, Husky meant you got to get the fat jeans, buddy. You're in the fat jeans section. I know it. Hey, listen, T-Shaw, everybody else was getting all the, you know how hard it was to squeeze my big ass back in the day into something from Chess King?
Do you still have all your clothes from before you started losing weight?
I do.
Sounds like one of those things where we need to do a promotional photo shoot for it.
See, I talk about it all the time, and people think I do these videos where I'm, kind of, shirtless, or I'm not shirtless. I mean, I am shirtless, but, not. I do these videos. I do the videos to promote the shows. I do the on-air stuff to promote, obviously, and give testimonials for the product, which has worked dramatically for me. But I don't take photographs of myself. I haven't done that. I haven't done one before and after yet.
Is there a specific reason? But not feeling it?
There was one, because we haven't brought this up other than once, the passing of Ryan Sandberg. Ryan Sandberg did an appearance with the Indians at Victory Field. This is probably 6-7 years ago, and Tony Donahue and I went down on the field with him. Have you seen that picture? Look up that picture. Tony Donahue has it on his X account. That was me like 6 or 7 years ago. And that would be a significant before and after. Would it not?
That is a big difference right there.
Because that dude right there is a big old fat ass. Go, wait a minute. Yeah, I still have that shirt. I swim in that shirt now. Obviously,
you could use that as a
swimming in
blanket.
it. Yeah. Look at that thing, though. Had to send that bad boy out right there. Nah, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, getting the Husky section of Sears and Tough Skids was a rite of passage for me back in the day. That is a true story right there. Sears was the place, though, because you can go get everything. You can go to the toys. They had a nice toy selection at Sears. I think they had records at one point in time, too. Yeah, JMV, the pain and stigma of the Husky childhood is real. I always say, too, with this weight loss, yeah, I'm 174 probably right now is where I am. That's what I weighed when I was 15. But no, it's funny to look at that picture with the late Ryan Sandberg and Tony Donahue from about 6 or 7 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, Skivvy says Chess King. All those places, it was tough on me. Chess King, merry-go-round. Because back then, I mean, it was all slim fit. And me trying to squeeze at times into a pair of parachute pants, it was something. All right, quick break. We'll come back. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. If you guys want to hear more horror stories of me growing up, I have many for you right here. And you talk about making whatever significant negative moments you went through growing up sound better. I'm your man. I've got you covered. My horror stories are the absolute best or the worst, however you may judge them. All right, quick break. We'll come back. 50 in betting, 50 in dining, the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day. Do you have your horse? Of course. Here's your chance to win. It's the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day.
The Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Here's your park race of the day. Brandon Reef. I know Brandon a great deal. He's got a podcast, Crossroads Sports, I believe, the podcast. Brandon's a good dude. Dashing Danny paid $6.40 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta was $43.20. 50-cent trifecta, $163.35. Brandon Reef, the winner. That is the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day. 50 in betting, 50 in dining, and racing now through November at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. I have not been there in a while to do a live show, so hey, let's get going. I have not been there. Spring, I think, was the last time we were at Harrah's Hoosier Park. Tony Renz, when are we going, brother? Benny Greenwood writes this. If I lost that much weight, JMV, you couldn't get me to put a shirt on. Why are you swimming in a shirt? No. I was swimming in the shirt that I used, like, meaning the shirt that I used to wear is way too big for me. No, Ben, what you say is accurate. I rarely, if ever, wear a shirt now. I am very shirtless. And I don't care. Now, I also went very shirtless when I was much more weighty. JMV, I just looked at that picture with you and the late Ryan Sandberg. Holy crap. Yeah, holy crap indeed. Big. Big dude. And what's funny, you never know. Once you get on that in-body, and what that does at Premier Weight Loss is it does everything from your weight to your body fat percentage to something called visceral fat, of which I didn't even know what the hell that was. That's bad, too. That's fat between your organs. That's heavy duty. And really what got me into it was the fact my blood pressure was absurd. I used to joke about it, and it sure as hell wasn't funny. So, no. Premier Weight Loss, Matt Thomas and everybody up there, the professionals, have done a great job with me. And more to go, too, to try to maintain. But feeling good as I ever have. That picture's ridiculous with me and Ryan Sandberg. JMV, any memories of Ryan Sandberg as a player? Certainly, I remember this. This was game one of the NLCS in 1984. I think Rick Sutcliffe hit a home run for the Cup. No, was it 84 or 89? No, 84. It had to be 84. I was in high school. I think I was a freshman. Yeah, it had to be 84, 85. I was a freshman. I stayed home to watch it. I believe Rick Sutcliffe hit a game one home run. Now, ultimately they lost to the Padres, but I am not a Cubs fan, but I did like that Cubs team. They had so many of the old school, like all of that team I think I had on those old school remember the RC Cola cans that had baseball players on them back in the late 70s? Gary Matthews, Ron Say. But that was a fun team to watch. Sandberg was a part of it. Bull Durham, Jody Davis. They traded Joe Carter and Mel Hall for Rick Sutcliffe, and he was a big deal, the big right-hander. Bob Dernier. That was a fun team in 1984. But Sandberg was just an absolute joy to watch. He was. In every single facet, including just human being, when we met him years ago. Bill's at 239-1070 right now. Hello, Bill. How are you?
JMV, I'm doing great. Hey, one thing I really believe has to happen in training camp is the development of Riley Leonard, the third-string quarterback, the draft pick out of Notre Dame, rookie. I think the Colts are going to need three quarterbacks.
Do you?
This year.
I think that'll be an absolute disaster if that's necessary.
Well, injury, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, and he's a winner, and I look forward to seeing them develop developing him. But I want to say one thing about Vincennes. Back in 1913, there was a guy that was born down there by the name of Bernard Elhoff, and he went on from that to have the longest running national television show in television history.
Red Skelton.
Red Skelton, baby.
Yes, you got that.
1954 to 1970.
Hey, man, you can't get me on the Vincennes/Knox County trivia. I got you. I thought you may get me something like George Rogers Clark or something, but you went easy on me.
Well, Red Skelton was just so great and lived up here in Indianapolis. As a matter of fact, he's kicking around Indianapolis the same time that John Dillinger was roaming the streets here.
Yeah, we did a couple of shows. We did a couple of shows from Behringer's that Dillinger and Capone, I think, both frequented a couple of different times in the day, from what I've been told.
Yeah, I bet you that it did indeed happen. But and congratulations on your run for having remote broadcasts and everything. You might want to call the Historical Society and everything and see if.
I should. No. Well, it's funny because back in the day with Mark, you remember those shows with Mark Patrick. Mark really didn't dig it. He liked going to Chalky's, but back then you could smoke, and Chalky's in Castleton, where they had all the pool tables, was like the first place that you couldn't smoke, or they didn't allow smoking, and he was cool with that. But the other places, he was not a drinker, and he certainly didn't like to smoke, so he didn't really dig going out too much. I'm different in that category. I don't smoke, but as far as you know, but I don't smoke. But the whole drinking and the aspect and the fun-loving being out, it's always been enjoyable for me.
Hey, on behalf of the rest of the gang that come to a lot of the remotes, man, keep it going, baby. Keep it going.
You got that right. I feel bad this week because we're not out. Did you tell Mike Manley that we'd like to get over there maybe in August?
Yeah. Yep.
Good plan right there. Billy, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
You betcha. We'll see you.
Yeah. Yeah, we are not anywhere other than Colts camp on Thursday this week, from what I gather. But it will refire with Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. I have mentioned this, too, and a lot of you for Bud Light Blue Fridays. I've said this to Michelle, and I think I've talked a little bit to the Zinc folks about this. I know that those that attend to win tickets would like us to go back to the draw where you put your name in the box and I draw it out. So we've been talking about that as well. A lot of fun, and it is on the horizon, not too far away. Speaking of that, August the 7th, a Thursday, the Fan Invitational Golf Outing, 1075thefan.com. I'm telling you, this event is going to be can't miss. Hopefully you're already signed up. But if you haven't, get in. That is a week from Thursday, August the 7th, Legends Golf Club. Shout out to Ted Bishop at Legends down in Franklin. 1075thefan.com. Sign up today. Charles Arbuckle tomorrow. Somebody from the Colts roster tomorrow as well. Colts camp in Westfield on Thursday. Kyle Neddenrip, Greg Rakestraw, and Joel A. Erickson of the Star. Podcast with each, 1075thefan.com. You guys have been so much better than me today. Thank you very much for your participation. Tomorrow at 3, we'll do it all over again.